Hi there, I'm Chris. I'm a French trader and coder. I'm very happy to present to you today a very powerful tool that we have created and which is a number one on an alternative platform, which is Pro Real Time, not to name it. I've been trading for 15 years and well, I went through all the stages basically, no shortcuts of trading, all the stages of trading from not knowing what I was doing and losing money very rapidly to having 20 indicators on my charts, of course, to secure my trades and try to find the golden goose combination of all those indicators, and finally creating my own tools and really being confident in using machines and algorithm in order to trade. So all these tools had two main goals. First, putting my emotions aside of my decision making, because we have all stated that this is the major cause of underperformance and ruin basically, but also of stress. And secondly, those tools had to make my life easier, really easier, and put me on the statistic positive side of trading. Okay, what's the point of trading if you're not sure your strategy on a statistic scale? So let's get into it. What's the genesis of Trend DECODER? Well, it's a very visual tool, but very powerful because it embarks a lot of innovations. So it starts with an input. How many times have you been too early or too soon in the trend? How many times have you guessed what the trend will be? And secondly, how many times have you been stuck in a range? Just seeing it afterwards. Well, basically, this is exactly the starting point of Trend DECODER. And the starting point of this tool is obviously to be set in a multi-time frame environment. So I will not come back on this because it's obvious, but let's remind that if you have a main time frame on which you take a decision and which is coherent with your trading style, you don't want this decision to be ruined by a movement that you wouldn't have seen on an upper time frame, right? Every market is segmented by time frames. You don't want to be on trend on your time frame, which is contradicted by the upper time frame. Of course, the infra time frame, the lower time frame, will be perfect in order to time your entries, majorly your entries, and a lot of time your exits. But I use it a lot on entries. So here you've got Trend DECODER in running on those 3 time frames. I've chosen a very classic, not day trader style, but 5, 15, and 1 hour multi-time frame setup. Of course, it can be 1 hour, 4 hours, and a week. It's just the multiple factor between time frame, which is important. So here you've got the Trend DECODERs running, and you've got a beautiful. I will start with the beginning, and I would say of the benefits of Trend DECODER is to identify a box, and to make it speak. So, for example, on a 1 hour time frame, you have here a beautiful range zone, right? So, what is an innovation about this? Because many indicators present boxes, right? So, the innovation is to make it speak, actually, and not any box behaves the same, and there are patterns in those boxes which announce a probable movement, right? So here, for example, there are at least 3 movements in those gray boxes that we have identified and automatized. It's basically a range zone that has not, which is really undefined, which is the very basic of a range, which is meaning that the market is lateralizing and not knowing where he's going. For example, here you've got a beautiful example on a 1 hour time frame. The market is just looking for its direction, right? That's why the price is lateralizing. The battle between sellers and buyers is just it's not defined. Nobody has won this battle, and everybody is waiting for a big move. So here, a range zone which is in a range, but you've got also ranges here, for example, which on the very low time frame, a gray box. We called it a gray box, very bluntly named gray box because it's gray and undefined. That's why we use it, which announces a continuation of a trend which is up, an uptrend, which is materialized by this line, which is we're going to go into it, and with, of course, a signal of indicating an uptrend, right? So that was the first concept of Trend DECODER. I try to be quick in order to make it still sharp. First innovation, qualification of the ranges. So you don't want to enter in a range, right? So you don't want to enter here, for example. It's a very bad idea to enter the market because both, I would say, in your main time frame and the upper time frame, the market's lateralizing, not knowing, looking for its new trend. So you don't want to enter on this moment of the market. The second concept of utility of this indicator is obviously to give you signals. So after the gray box has spoken, as we say here, you've got a signal, which is here materialized in a triangle, either blue or greeny blue or red if it's a downtrend. So obviously here you've got a materialization of a signal giving you an uptrend, and underneath you've got what we call a cloud, the blue on the red or the orange cloud, materializing this trend. Okay, so that's quite classical, but we have sophisticated this cloud, bringing it in a proprietary formula, volumes in it. So it's a very interesting, I would say, indicator in the indicator to see when the trend is gonna end, basically. But more than that, we wanted to have an even more directional tool, which is the idea of the trend line, the real-time trend line that you have here in a plain blue and here in a plain red, which gives you the direction of the trend. As you can see, this here actually this red real-time trend line is as a little sister, which is the projective trend line. So what is the projective trend line? It's I like this innovation because it really helps me in my trades. What is it? Well, if you look at the trends as they are going, as you can see, even though it's impossible and nobody will give you it's impossible to predict where the market is going. However, trends are not irrational. They're not, I would say, totally chaotic. So here you can see that, for example, in those three trend lines, those three directions, well, the angle is not totally chaotic. I mean, if you take those two directions, they're almost the same. And I would bet that we're talking about a couple of degrees of difference of smooth. Here, a little trend faster, but still, it's not totally chaotic. I mean, it's not pointing, I would say, 90 degrees. And so it's interesting to have inside an indicator something that projects what is the former trend pace. And this is exactly the objective of the projective trend line, which is materialized here in a dotted line. So when you have this a trend coming on, as you can see it here, a trend which has started at this point, you're able with this projected trend line and this real-time trend line to see if the going movement is basically, I would say, normal, or is accelerating more or decelerating more than the previous one, which is an indication of what's the next move of the trend, basically. So here we can see that the going move is pretty lower than the former one. So we could wait for we could expect the market just to get back to its predictive trend line. We need to stay very cautious at this moment, but it's a probability, which is what the predictive trend line is made for. Here, for example, we have seen that on the main time frame of 15 minutes, the projective trend line is slightly of a lower angle than the current movement, which suggests actually the market, the price could go back to I would say lateralization, still lateralize for a moment. Actually, that's what basically before the range, and still in range zone here. So it suggests really much that the market is going to lateralize for a while. Voila. So this is the basic the tools inside the indicator that helps you to identify and to qualify the strength and the probability of the trend. We have imported, of course, the Fibonacci levels here, which are anchored on the last high of the previous movement, and which also it's very helpful to have an embedded sub indicator on this indicator. Basically, what I like to use actually, it's the crossings of those indicators. So if we take here this example on this the 15 minutes index, as you can see here, the real-time trend line gives you a very early signal of this trend losing and finally reversing. And even before the gray box has spoken here, you could easily see that the trend was about to end with this crossing. So what is great with this tool is that you have very down to earth and very easy reading signals, and very intuitive. So basically, when the prices cross this real-time trend line, it's not good for the trend. That means you need to be cautious. That's the first signal. If it breaks then the cloud which supports the trend, this really means that something is gonna end soon, and that you should get out of this trend if you're in. So here is a very, very good example here. Another one here in a downtrend. Price just crosses after having rebounded on the cloud. Finally, it crosses the real-time trend line, and which announces that before even the signal and the gray box, it announces a reversal. So this is a way to trade with Trend DECODER, which is very easy on, I would say, a savvy and an expert level. You could make some early bets, putting your stop loss below the last low, and anticipating, which it's a word I don't really like, but the probability of success are not null. So why not playing that? But so you could play on a crossing of a trend line. You could play it on the announcement of a trend, an official trend. Of course, you would not get 100% of your position strictly at the signal, which is stupid, because not stupid, which would be not statistically relevant, meaning that the market usually made some pullbacks just because everybody has seen that there was a level here probably, and liquidity will be challenged. So you would buy probably 50% of your position here and wait for a pullback, 50%, another 50% close to the cloud in order to play this trend. So, but this is a second way to do it, and you will get out on the crossing here of the trend line, or a crossing if you want to wait to see that there's not that the trend is really over and not rebounding on its cloud. You could get either here or here out of the market. Voila, in short, what I could tell you about Trend Decoder. This will be available for sale very shortly. Please let me know what you think about that. Let me know of any upgrade we could bring to this tool. I'm very open and I'm a lifelong learner, so I would be very happy to improve and serve the community with an even better tool. So thank you very much. Trade safe. Ciao.